Hey class, happy Friday morning. Almost the end of week one. Hopefully you guys have been doing well. I know this has been a big transition, but I hopefully you found some positives in it, and that we can continue to learn together. So I wanted to post this video. I said I'd post assignment 3.0 before the end of the day. Technically it's the next morning, but I didn't want to go to bed without posting it. So I'll look to post 3.0 and then 4.0 sometime this weekend. This hopefully you'll find as an easy assignment, but I'm going to ask everyone to watch this video. I'm going to try to move through it as quickly as I can, but I always think there's nuggets of information that even the most experienced programmer can always, use a refresher on. I know some of you have had a programming experience before. Maybe it's math and coding, maybe it's the Famineers program, maybe it's robotics. Whatever it is, you never know when you're going to learn. So, hang out with me for 10 minutes. Hopefully you'll learn, one new thing. All right. So I wanted to go over today's topic, which is going to be if, else if, and else statements. And those are called conditional statements. The reason is because what an if statement is asking for, if statement. So if I was taller than 6 feet, well, what? I would be in the MBA. If I had studied longer, I would have done better on my exam. It's always asking for a statement that you can check upon, right? And so I'm going to go into a little details with it. I also want to go ahead and go over the scanf function, which is not something that Learn-G goes over. So if you need a little refresher, hopefully this will be good for you. So if you look at my screen, or I guess obviously you see my screen, I wanted to go over this example. So the scanf function is actually a really simple one, but because they don't discuss it, I wanted to go ahead and walk you through it. What I did is I called out this function called scanf, and what a scanf function does is it actually allows you to input values as opposed to outputting values on the screen. So first, I declared the variable age. Then the prompt is to ask me enter your age. Now this blinking below is telling me, hey, I'm waiting on you to enter something. That's what the blinking dot means. So why don't I enter my age? So I'm going to enter 33. So see how I can type down in that box? You should be able to as well. Then I'm going to hit enter. And then it's going to say the age you entered is 33. What that tells me is the following, and it worked out just like I wanted it to. This variable age has now been, instead of outputting information, it's now me inputting information into the system and assigning age to equal 33. So this is your example that you were provided. Your goal for this assignment, and like I said, it's only one kind of full problem, right, is the following. I've created this top code for you. If you want to practice on your own and type it without looking, that's completely fine. But I generated a variable called student score. Students score. I guess it should be students with an apostrophe, but that's not allowed. And then what I asked is enter the score on a test between 0 and 100. So I'm going to run this code. And what I'm going to type in is something like 82. So the value of the value of the student score you entered is 82. What your code needs to do is utilize an if, else if, and else statements. I'm not telling you how many of each, but you'll have to figure it out. In order to go ahead and output, if I type in 82, then the student received a B on the exam. If I type in 33, then it should output the student receives an F on the exam. I give you 5 values to check, and I expect you to check all of them, but I want you to snip your code with all your if, else statements, and just include one value that you checked that worked. Now, I will be able to verify just by looking at the code whether I believe that each of the 5, 10, infinite numbers that I input are going to work. And then, otherwise, let's go from there. So that's your goal. So I want to walk you through a little bit through it, and I also want to talk about arithmetic operators because I think that's important for you guys to understand. So let's say I wanted to create an if statement. And again, what I said is, and I'm going to use pseudocode for now. If my age is equal to 33, then print out you are old. That's fair, right? So what it's asking for is if, and then it's asking a question, if the value of age is equal to 33, then I want you to call out you are old. But this is where a lot of beginner programs will make a mistake, not understanding how an operator and a conditional statement works. So I wanted to go ahead and reference this chart that I posted on the assignment with the operator and their meaning. And right here it says is equal to equals. Now, why is that? Because when you only have one equal sign, what you're actually doing is you are assigning the value to age. You are saying age is equal to 33. I'm telling you to assign that value. But that's not a question, right? That's not something that I can verify. So if you're asking, is age equal to 33, then you need to double, age is. So you're saying now, if, let's ask the question, age is equal to 33, so double, then, and you should know the basic kind of outline of how if statements work. You're going to start with the beginner brace. I'm going to go to the end, out brace. Well, we've done this before. Printf. I'm not going to put an enter. And then never forget your semicolon within. So I don't need semicolons at the end, or I guess at the start of my if statement or the very end. But anything that you have that contained within those braces, you do need semicolons within. So that's important to note as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it again. I'm going to type in 33. The age you entered is 33. You are old. Well, thank you so much, computer, for letting me know that. So now what happens if I type in something that's not 33, right? Well, what if I'm 34? Oh, great. I'm not old anymore. Awesome. Well, see, that's where you want to go ahead and start creating, it's very rare unless you have like a true false. Like if you have a true false statement, this is where you should utilize equals. Like, and if you're thinking of vex, then maybe that's things like a bump switch, the limit switch. I almost always encourage you to, unless it's like a very specific scenario, you should almost never really need to use equals in a conditional statement unless there's like only one of two options or one of three options. If you have like infinite options that you can input, you literally have to create an else if statement for every single condition for it to work. So instead, we're going to go ahead and use operators that create inequalities. So what I can say now is the following: if age is greater than, why don't we say, I don't know what you guys would consider old, 25, then print out you're old. Now, the great part about this is the fact that if I just want to jump into you're either old or not old, then I can just do an else now. Now, the great part about else is that there's no need to input a condition. Some people incorrectly do this. Age is, less than 25. So that's not really the case because else doesn't need a condition. It's basically saying if the above statement is not true, then it's false. So do this. So if else are basically true and false statements. If not true, then do this. So what do you want me to do? I'm going to start off with my braces. It automatically creates a bottom brace. I love that. Printf, you are not old. Because I'm going to have potentially two lines. Actually, I really shouldn't, but I should just get in the practice of entering these just in case. It's a good habit to get into. Okay, now let's check it. Nope. Just like I said it before, I forgot that. Okay, enter your age. Okay, so why don't we say we're not old? 21. You are not old. Perfect, exactly. And what if I'm 26? Darn, you are old. Now, one of the conditions that happens, though, is what if I'm 25? You are not old. Okay, great. So the condition here checked for every condition, but what if I wanted 25 to be considered old? Well, then I can do if age is greater or equal to. How would I know that? Well, go back to your statement, greater or equal to this 25. So now I'm going to run it. Sorry, 25-year-olds of the world. There we go. You are old. That's too bad. Well, what if you wanted to create this middle ground, right? And what if you wanted to say that if you're under I don't know, 12, you're young. All right. Well, else if age is, now what you're going to do is you're going to be less than 25, but also what does that mean? Oh, not on here. Great. um, and see operators. This would be good where I will input this into your assignment. So that's good for me to see. Here it is. So operator and means and. So the double signs mean or, the exclamation means not equal to or not. So now what I'm going to do, so there we go, is not equal to. So now what I'm going to do is I'm saying if you are less than 25 and age is greater than 12, we'll say, and we'll say greater or equal to 13. So we're including 13-year-olds. And I shouldn't do an else. You should only do an else once, but I'm going to say else if. So you always kind of want to use else if you have multiple if conditions. I see a lot of beginning programmers make that mistake too. They'll do like if, and then an else. No, don't do that. If you're going to have more than one if statement within your conditions, do an if, else if, else if, else if, else. All right. That's a huge mistake that a lot of people make. And the only time you should really do ifs twice is if you're okay if two different things happen within there. I don't want to go into too much detail, but if you're an experienced programmer, then you'll know when it makes sense to do two if statements. Otherwise, you should consistently do if, else if. So what should I print out? I'll just print out the same thing. We'll say you are not old, you are young here. There we go. Got my semicolon. There we go. All right, I think that's good. Let's run it. Okay, so why don't we pick someone that's 15? You are not old. Great. What if we pick someone like my little brother who's 11? You are young. Okay, great. This is a great example. Hopefully you can utilize this. I'll go ahead and include these types of statements as well. Find a better one. I'm sure there's one in there that looks better. But go ahead and look at the operators and the assignments, and you're going to be utilizing them. Complete this assignment here. It should be pretty straightforward. If you have questions, I'll be online Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. It's due Thursday at midnight. Good luck, and hope you guys are doing well.